What happens when love dares to cross the borders of wealth, class, and family expectations? What if the poor boy your family despises is secretly building an empire? And what if the heiress chooses love over luxury, only to discover she married someone far greater than she ever imagined? At 18, Chidinma Lawson lived the kind of life most teenagers could only dream of. She was the only child of Chief and Mrs. Lawson, owners of Lawson Holdings, an empire spread across oil, estates, and luxury fashion. Their mansion in Ikoyi sparkled like a palace, filled with chandeliers imported from Italy and gold-plated railings that shone even at night. But wealth meant nothing to Chidinma. She was quiet, gentle, and more comfortable with novels and school debates than with luxury parties and designer bags. Her joy came from simple things. That was why her heart noticed someone no one else paid attention to. Toby A.J., a boy whose brilliance lit up every classroom in Gold Spring College. He was the kind of student teachers praised even in the staff room, calm, humble, always first in mathematics and physics. The type who didn't talk much but whose confidence came from his mind, not his pocket. Toby came from a modest home. His mother sold provisions in a kiosk, and his father repaired radios and fans for neighbors. Toby wore his school uniform until the fabric began to fade, but what he lacked in wealth, he carried in intelligence and character. Chidinma noticed him one rainy afternoon. She had gone to the school library to collect a novel when she saw Toby seated by the window, solving equations in a worn-out notebook. His brows were furrowed, but there was a calmness around him. Something about him pulled her. She walked to his table, smiling softly. "Toby, right?" He looked up, surprised. "Yes, Chidinma Lawson. You know my name?" she asked, amused. He chuckled lightly. "Everybody knows your name. But I didn't think you knew mine." "I do. You're the smartest boy in this school." A faint blush colored his cheeks. "Thank you. I just try my best." That day their friendship began. They started sitting together during prep, sharing textbooks, discussing life, dreams, and everything in between. Toby talked about building technology that could change Nigeria. Chidinma talked about wanting to escape the pressure of being an heiress. Slowly, gently, they fell for each other. He loved her kindness. She loved his mind. He made her feel seen, not as the billionaire's daughter, but as a girl with fears, hopes, and dreams. But not everyone was happy about it. One Friday evening, as Chidinma returned from school, her father was already waiting in the living room, anger tightening every line on his face. "Chidinma," Chief Lawson began, "I heard you've been moving around with one Toby A.J." Her heartbeat jumped. "Daddy, he's my friend." "A friend?" Her mother snapped. "You're an heiress. You have no business being close to that kind of boy." Chidinma swallowed painfully. "He's intelligent, respectful." "He is poor," her father thundered. "And I won't have my only daughter associating with someone far below her class." Tears filled her eyes, but her voice remained steady. "You don't know him." "We don't need to know him," her mother cut in. "End whatever nonsense is between you two." Chidinma walked to her room trembling, not because she was afraid but because she knew she wouldn't obey. Her heart had chosen Toby. Quietly, firmly, completely. The following week she told him everything. Toby's face fell, but he took her hand gently. "Chidinma, I don't want to cause problems for you." "You're not," she whispered. "My parents just don't understand." "Maybe you should listen to them," he said softly, though pain flickered in his eyes. She shook her head firmly. "I choose you." He couldn't speak for a moment. Then, very carefully, he hugged her. It was the moment that sealed their young love. But fate had other plans. 3 weeks later, Chidinma came home only to meet packed boxes in her room and her parents standing by the doorway. "You leave for Canada next week," her father announced. Enough of this childish distraction. Her world collapsed. "Canada? Just like that? No goodbye? No warning?" Her mother lifted her chin. "You will forget that boy. And you will focus on your future." But love doesn't disappear because parents disapprove. The last night before her flight, she met Toby behind the school hall. Rain threatened the sky, winds blew gently, and tears blurred her vision. "They're sending me away," she whispered. "Tomorrow." Toby froze, breath catching. "Tomorrow?" She nodded, choking on a sob. "I didn't want this. I don't want to leave you." Toby took a long, steady breath and lifted her chin. "Chidinma, listen to me," he said gently. "I will wait for you. 1 year, 2, 5, 10, however long it takes." She burst into tears and hugged him tightly. "They'll come back to you," she vowed. Under the dim streetlight, with hearts breaking and hope burning, they promised each other forever. But neither of them knew how much destiny was already preparing to test that promise. The day Chidinma left Nigeria, Toby stood outside the departure terminal long after her plane disappeared into the clouds. People came and left, families reunited and separated, but he remained frozen in place, clutching the small bracelet she had given him. A simple blue bead bracelet. Not expensive, not shiny, but to him it was worth more than gold. It was the last thing she placed in his hand before boarding. Whenever you look at it, she had whispered, eyes trembling, "Remember, I'm still yours." He remembered. Every single day. A world apart, a heart still linked. Life in Canada was new and overwhelming for Chidinma. Snow, fast trains, bright city lights, people who didn't know her as the billionaire's daughter, new friends with different cultures. But despite all the excitement, every night her thoughts drifted back to Nigeria, to the boy who loved her without asking for anything. Time zones made communication difficult, but they tried. Late-night WhatsApp calls, voice notes recorded between classes, pictures of the sky they sent each other, saying, "I wish you were here." Sometimes she cried herself to sleep out of loneliness. Sometimes he couldn't reply for days because his small phone had spoiled again. But the love didn't fade. Toby's new journey. While Chidinma studied international business in Canada, Toby entered Unilag, studying electrical engineering. His brilliance didn't go unnoticed. He won prizes, national competitions, hackathons, even scholarships. Yet he kept a low profile. He still lived in a modest apartment with 2 roommates, still wore simple clothes, still took Danfo buses to school. But something new began burning in him. A dream. A desire to build something big, something that could solve real problems in Nigeria. He started coding late into the night, learning from free online videos, taking notes until his fingers cramped. He was building something, but he told no one, not even Chidinma. The beginning of a secret. At 19, Toby built a simple payment app prototype. At 20, he presented it in a tech contest and won 150,000 Nigerian nairas. It was the biggest money he had ever held. Instead of buying new clothes or a better phone, he invested it into upgrading his laptop and renting a small working space in Yaba. His roommates laughed. "Guy, all this suffering for app? Nah, small boy like you go build company?" Toby only smiled. They didn't know his mind was far ahead. He registered a startup name quietly. No celebration. No noise. Just purpose. At 21, his app had 5,000 users. At 22, 50,000. At 23, investors started sending emails. But Toby stayed in the background. He wore no suits. He lived simply. He never posted his success online. And why? He wanted to know, without doubt, that when he finally stood before Chidinma again, her love would have nothing to do with money. He wanted to be chosen for who he was, not what he had built. So he hid everything. The long years of distance. During their 5th year apart, challenges came. Chidinma's parents tried to arrange introductions to wealthy suitors abroad, bankers, diplomats, and young CEOs. Men who drove Teslas and owned apartments in Toronto. She rejected all of them politely but firmly. At home, her parents grew frustrated. Chidinma, her mother, scolded over a video call. "Are you still holding on to that boy?" Her voice was calm but unshakable. "Yes, Mom. I am." Her father rolled his eyes. "Love doesn't feed people. End this childish attachment and face your future." But she didn't listen. Toby was her future whether they liked it or not. Meanwhile, Toby faced his own storms. His startup almost collapsed twice. His laptop once burned from overwork. Investors backed out. He went hungry some nights to save money. But whenever he felt like giving up, he opened Chidinma's old messages. "I believe in you. One day your name will be on skyscrapers. Our future will be beautiful." Her faith became his fuel. 7 years passed like 7 long seasons. Chidinma completed her master's degree and announced to her parents, "I'm coming home." Her mother's warning was sharp. "If you return to chase that boy, don't expect our support." Chidinma didn't blink. "I didn't have support when you forced me to leave him. Yet I survived." Her father slammed his laptop shut. "You are the heiress of our empire. You cannot disgrace this family with a roadside boy." But Chidinma simply smiled. "He's not a roadside boy, Daddy. He's the man I love." Her parents exchanged frustrated glances. They didn't understand that she had never, and would never, stop loving Toby. Her bags were packed. Her mind was made up. Her heart was determined. Nigeria awaited her. And so did the boy who had been building both a future and an empire, quietly. And he was still waiting. Still hers. Still in love. A reunion 7 years in the making. 7 long years passed before Chidinma Lawson returned to Nigeria. When her plane touched down at Murtala Muhammad International Airport, her breath trembled. She stood for a moment in the arrival hall, dragging her suitcase behind her as familiar Lagos heat wrapped around her like a thick blanket. I'm back. But her heart whispered something else. Is he still here? Will he still care? The airport noise faded in her ears, replaced with the thumping of her heart. She wasn't nervous about Nigeria. She wasn't nervous about her parents. She was nervous about facing him again. The boy who waited, the man she never stopped loving. Not going home, not yet. Her parents had sent 2 armored SUVs with escorts to receive her, but she waved them off. No thank you. I have somewhere important to go first. They stared in confusion as she entered an Uber instead. Destination, Yaba Tech Road. The old address Toby had written in one of his early letters. Her fingers trembled the whole ride. Her breathing came shallow. For every minute the car moved, her memories replayed faster. Their last hug. His promise, he'll wait. Her vow, he'll come back for you. And now, she was here. The Uber stopped in front of a familiar brown gate compound, the kind where neighbors shouted greetings across balconies and children chased each other with old bicycle tires. Her heartbeat sprinted. She stepped out. Chima, one of Toby's old roommates, was eating noodles outside. The moment he saw her, the fork dropped from his hand. Yezu, Chidinma Lawson. Is this a dream? She smiled nervously. Hi Chima. Please, is Toby around? Chima stood slowly, still stunned. He never left here. He still day for that same room. He never forget you. Not for one day. Her breath caught. Her throat tightened. She walked inside the compound with trembling legs. She reached Toby's door. She lifted her hand to knock. But before her knuckles touched the wood, the door opened. And there he was. Older, stronger, more confident. Still beautiful in the quiet, humble way she remembered. Toby froze mid-step, laptop bag in hand. His eyes widened. Chidinma? Her lips parted, voice barely a whisper. Toby. For a moment, time stopped. Then his bag dropped to the floor. He walked toward her slowly, as if afraid she would vanish. She couldn't wait, she ran into his arms. His embrace swallowed her completely. Warm, trembling, desperate. 7 years of longing melted in one breath. She sobbed against his chest. He held her as if holding a missing part of himself. You came back, he whispered into her hair. I never left, she whispered back. They sat on the long wooden bench outside his room. But their hands never left each other's. She traced the bracelet on his wrist, the same one she gave him years ago. You kept it, she said softly. It was the only part of you I had left. Their eyes met. Something deeper shifted. Something hungry. Something pure. Years of bottled-up affection pressed against both of them. Toby, she whispered, voice trembling. He placed his forehead against hers. His breath mingled with hers. His thumb brushed her cheek slowly, deliberately, reverently. Can I? He asked softly. She nodded before he finished the question. Their lips met gently. A slow, searching kiss. Full of memories. Full of relief. Full of all the I missed you they had never said. The kiss deepened, still tender, still controlled. Her hand slid around his neck. His arms circled her waist, pulling her closer. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't wild. It was 2 hearts reuniting in the only language they remembered so well. When they finally pulled apart, breathless but smiling, he whispered, I've dreamed of this moment. Me too, she replied, wiping a tear from her cheek. They moved inside quietly. His room was simple, books stacked everywhere, a laptop on the table, a fan humming softly. Nothing fancy. Nothing pretentious. Just him. Chidinma sat on his bed. He sat beside her. Their fingers intertwined again naturally. No words. Just quiet closeness. A gentle intimacy that required no explanation. He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. She rested her head on his shoulder. Toby, she whispered, hold me. He did, slowly, respectfully, wrapping his arm around her back. She melted into him, her body relaxing completely for the first time in a long while. No rush. No pressure. Just warmth, soft touches, and 2 people rediscovering their place in each other's arms. When she looked up, their lips brushed again, shorter, sweeter. I love you, she breathed. He swallowed hard. I've loved you since we were kids. Her eyes softened. And now we're not kids anymore. He smiled, brushing his thumb across her hand. No. We're 2 adults finally getting our moment. They sat there for hours, talking, touching, embracing, until evening shadows filled the room. not crossing any boundaries. Just a deep, emotional intimacy that spoke louder than anything physical. Two souls against the world. When Chidinma finally arrived home later that night, her parents were waiting at the entrance, arms folded, faces hard. "Where were you?" her mother demanded. Chidinma looked straight at them. "With Toby." Her father's voice thundered. "Are you insane? After 7 years you go back to a low-class boy?" She didn't flinch. She didn't blink. "Daddy, he waited for me. And I still love him." Her mother gasped. Her father slammed the table. "He will bring shame to this family." "He is not a mistake," Chidinma replied calmly. "He is my choice." Her parents stared at her in disbelief. They had no idea how strong her love had become. And they had absolutely no idea how far Toby had risen in the world. For now they only saw a poor boy. But very soon, they would see something else entirely. The next few weeks were a battlefield for Chidinma, but not the kind she expected. Returning to Nigeria had healed something inside her, especially with Toby constantly beside her. Yet her parents had become a storm, loud, relentless, and determined to force her away from the only man she had ever loved. Meanwhile, Toby carried a different kind of burden, a truth too big to reveal. She loved him now, not for wealth, not for status, not for anything else but the boy who once held her hand under the mango tree. And that made him terrified, because he wasn't a boy anymore. He was a billionaire quietly running a tech empire from the shadows. And he knew that the moment he revealed it, the moment the world saw him clearly, everything would change, especially her parents' interest. So he hid it, and waited for the right time. "Chidinma, you have 2 weeks," her mother said one evening, pointing at her like a soldier speaking to a cadet. "We found a good man for you. Responsible, wealthy, ready to marry. Not a carpenter with no future." "Mummy, I am not marrying anybody. I've made my choice." Her father's voice cut through the air like thunder. "Then leave this house and follow him. If love is sweeting your body, go and taste full sweetness." She felt those words pierce deep. But she stood her ground. "I won't let you choose my life for me," she whispered. She left the sitting room shaking, but not broken. Outside the gate, Toby was waiting, resting on his motorcycle, the night breeze lifting his shirt slightly. When he saw her face, he stood immediately. "They shouted again?" "Toby. They want to force me into another marriage." He didn't say a word. He just drew her into his chest, holding her the way he always did, like he was shielding her from the world. "I'm not letting you go," he whispered into her hair. "Never again." She held him tighter. Toby dropped her off at her new apartment, a place he secretly paid for but never told her. He told her it was from her savings abroad. She didn't know he had quietly doubled it behind the scenes. At midnight, he sat in his hidden home office. Multiple screens glowing, code running, messages from investors piling up. His company, Toby Tech Global, was on the verge of signing a multimillion-dollar contract with a Japanese firm. His assistant called. "Sir, should we go ahead with the Forbes interview?" "No," he said sharply. "Not yet. But everyone is asking who the young Nigerian genius behind all this is. Let them keep asking." He ended the call. Right now, he didn't want to be a global star. He just wanted to protect the girl whose parents believed he was still a nobody. The threats at home worsened, so Chidinma spent more nights at her apartment, and Toby visited every evening, bringing food, laughter, and peace. One night, after a long day of arguments with her parents, she collapsed on the sofa. "Toby, I'm tired. I feel like they're trying to break me." He knelt in front of her. "Then let me carry you through it. You're not alone." She kept his face, touched by the sincerity in his eyes. "Toby, after all these years, why didn't you stop waiting for me?" "I couldn't," he said simply. There was no other woman in this world that felt like home. Something inside her shifted, melted, surrendered. She leaned forward and kissed him, soft at first, then deeper, fuller, needier. He responded like a man who had been starving for that taste, that warmth, that closeness for too many years. He lifted her gently and carried her to the bedroom. There were no rushed movements, only tenderness, longing, and the warmth of two hearts that had been separated for too long. Their hands learned each other again. Their breaths synced. The years between them dissolved like smoke. And when they finally made love, it wasn't wild or reckless. It was slow, emotional, almost sacred. The type of union only people who had missed each other for half a lifetime could share. Afterward, she rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "Toby, if my parents find out I'm with you, they'll destroy everything. Then we'll fight together." "You're poor," she whispered teasingly. He chuckled softly. "If only you knew." She didn't catch the meaning behind that smile. "Not yet." 2 days later, her parents made their biggest move yet. Her father stormed her office, furious. "So it's true. You're living with that carpenter boy?" he shouted. "Daddy, stop embarrassing me. I'd rather embarrass you than watch you ruin your future. If you don't leave that boy, forget you have a family." Those words hit her like a slap. She cried the whole evening. Toby came immediately. She didn't talk, she just fell into his arms, shaking. He wrapped her tightly, stroked her hair, whispered calm into her ears, but inside he was boiling. Her parents were crossing lines he didn't want to talk about, but he wouldn't let her suffer alone. He made a decision that night. It was time. Time to show her who he really was. Time to pull her into his real world. Time to stop hiding. But he needed one more day. One more moment. One more night to hold her before everything changed. They lay on the bed later, her head resting on his bare chest. "Toby, promise me you won't leave me. Even if I lose everything." He kissed her forehead. "You won't lose anything," he whispered. "Because soon, your parents will realize they were fighting the wrong battle." She looked up at him, confused. "What does that mean?" He smiled softly. "You'll know soon." He kissed her again, slow, deep, reassuring. The storm was coming. But Toby wasn't afraid. Because he wasn't just a boy from the workshop anymore. He was a man with power, wealth, and a kingdom built from brilliance. And he was finally ready to fight for the woman he had loved all his life. The morning sunlight filtered gently into Chidinma's apartment, warming her skin as she lay curled in Toby's arms. She woke slowly, feeling the familiar comfort of his heartbeat beneath her cheek. It had been weeks of love, war, and stolen peace, but nothing prepared her for what today would bring. For Toby, the day had a different weight. The day he would stop hiding. The day he would show her everything. He watched her as she stirred awake, like he was memorizing the way her lashes touched her cheeks, the way her lips parted as she sighed. "You're watching me again," she murmured. "Of course," he replied. "In preparing for later." "For what?" she asked sleepily. "For the truth." She opened her eyes, confusion filling them, but before she could ask more, he kissed her forehead. "Dress up," he whispered. "I want to take you somewhere." They drove through Lagos, past Lekki, past Six, past Ikoyi. Chidinma watched buildings blur by, her curiosity growing with every minute. "Toby, where are we going?" "We're leaving the familiar parts of town." "You asked me for honesty," he said quietly. "And I want to give it to you." She rested her hand on his, squeezing gently. "I trust you." He didn't respond, his jaw tightened slightly. He had waited years to hear that. Now he needed her trust more than ever. Soon, the car turned toward a massive gated area, its tall, silver entrance guarded like a foreign embassy. "Toby, what is this place?" He didn't answer. When the guards saw the car, they stood at attention immediately. "Good morning, sir." Chidinma's eyes widened. "Sir?" The gates opened, revealing acres of land filled with futuristic buildings, glassy, towering, spotless. But the largest of them all stood like a jewel at the center, bearing the bold silver inscription. Tobatech Global, Innovation for Tomorrow. Chidinma's breath caught. She turned to him slowly. "Toby, why does this place have your name?" But he didn't reply, not yet. He drove toward the main building, a high-rise with reflective panels shimmering like water. Executives in suits paused to bow slightly as the car passed. "Good morning, Chairman." "Welcome, sir." "Sir, the board is waiting for you." Toby kept a straight face, but Chidinma's world was spinning. "Chairman? Board? Tobatech? Him?" She swallowed hard. "Toby, what is happening?" He parked and stepped out, then moved to her side and opened her door gently. His voice was soft, too soft. "I want you to see my world." "Your world?" she echoed, shaking. He led her into the lobby, marble floors, digital holograms, brilliant displays of inventions and tech breakthroughs. On the far wall was a huge framed picture. "Meet Toby Michaels, founder VCO of Tobatech Global." Below it were articles. "Youngest tech billionaire in Africa. The hidden genius behind Africa's fastest growing company. The man redefining innovation." Chidinma froze. "No," she whispered. "You can't be. This can't be you. You said you were just a carpenter?" He finished quietly. Her eyes lifted to his. "You let me believe you were poor." "I never said I was poor," he replied. "I just never said who I was." Chidinma felt weak. She took a step backward, but he caught her hand. "Toby." "What?" she whispered. "Why would you hide something like this?" He looked down, battling emotions he had buried for years. "Because when you left Nigeria, I was nothing," he began. "No money. No hope. Just a boy who loved you and had nothing to offer." Her eyes softened. Toby, he continued, but when you returned, I wanted you to love me the way you loved me back then. Not because of money. Not because of fame. Not because of what the world thinks I am. He lifted her hand and kissed her knuckles. I needed to be sure you wanted me. Not the billionaire Toby Michaels. Chidinma covered her mouth, overwhelmed. And you did. You loved me without knowing anything. You chose me when your parents called me a nobody. He stepped closer. You loved the man I was before the world found me. And that means more to me than every naira in this empire. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Toby, you should have told me. I know. But I wanted you to see the real me today, because I want to fight for you openly. No hiding. He led her into the Sky Conference Room, a massive glass hall overlooking the entire city. Executives stood as he entered. Sir. Clear the room, Toby said. Within seconds, everyone filed out. Silence. Only both of them remained. Toby turned to her. I want to marry you, Chidinma. Her heart leapt, but fear still lingered. And your parents? He asked quietly. I want to face them man to man. Not as a poor boy. Not as a nobody. But as the man who loves their daughter. She exhaled, overwhelmed by everything happening at once. Toby. He approached her, lifting her chin gently. Do you love me? She swallowed. With everything. He smiled softly. Then let me show the world. Without warning, he reached into his pocket and brought out a small velvet box. She gasped. Toby, I've loved you since we were children. I waited all the years you were gone. I built everything around me dreaming of the day you would return. He opened the box. A simple, elegant gold ring glowed inside. No more secrets. No more fear. Chidinma, will you marry me? Her tears fell freely now. Tears of love, confusion, shock, joy, everything mixed together. Yes, she whispered. Then louder. Yes, Toby. I will marry you. He pulled her into a tight embrace, lifting her off the ground as she laughed and cried at the same time. For the first time, she wasn't holding the boy she had known her whole life. She was holding the man he had become. But as the sun set that evening, and he drove her home with her ring shining on her finger, they did not know what awaited them at the gate. Her parents stood outside, furious, trembling, waiting to unleash a new level of war. Because rumors spread fast, and whispers had already reached them. Your daughter is engaged to Africa's youngest tech billionaire. The moment the gate opened, Chidinma felt Toby tense beside her. Standing at the entrance of the Lawson mansion were Chief and Mrs. Lawson, her parents, still in their expensive evening attire, faces stiff, pride wounded, rage barely contained. Her father stepped forward. Her mother was trembling, whether from anger or shock, no one could tell. Get down from that car, Chief Lawson commanded, voice deep and sharp. Chidinma took a breath, steady and brave. Toby reached for her hand, but she squeezed his reassuringly. It's okay, she whispered. They stepped out together. The air felt heavy. Her father's eyes immediately went to her left hand and froze. The ring. The engagement ring. He inhaled sharply. What is that on your finger? Chidinma lifted her chin. My engagement ring. Mrs. Lawson stumbled backward slightly. You did what? Without our approval? Without our family's presence? Her father pointed at Toby, fury boiling over. And you had the audacity to bring her home wearing your ring? Is this some kind of madness, young man? Are you trying to embarrass us? Toby remained calm, so calm it unsettled the guard standing nearby. No, sir. I only wanted to ask for her hand personally. But since you already know. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a white envelope, neatly sealed. I came prepared. Chief Lawson snatched it angrily and tore it open. The moment he saw the documents inside, his entire posture shifted. Property deeds, shareholding certificates, corporate records, and a letter signed by top government officials. The documents confirmed one truth. Toby Michaels was wealthier than the entire Lawson empire. Mrs. Lawson's mouth fell open. You own Toby Tech Global? Toby bowed his head slightly. Yes, ma'am. The silence that followed was thick and suffocating. Mrs. Lawson shook her head violently. No, it's impossible. You're lying. You tricked her with forged papers. Her husband cut her off. These documents are legitimate, he whispered, stunned. His hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. This boy. He's worth billions. Real billions. Chidinma watched them quietly. All their insults. All their mockery. All their assumptions. All collapsing at once. Her mother pointed at Toby, voice cracking. But you came to us looking like a poor carpenter. No car. No security. No designer clothes. Toby finally spoke. That was intentional, ma'am. I wanted to be sure you weren't judging me based on wealth. And I wanted Chidinma to love me the way she always did, without money getting in the way. Chief Lawson stared at him, stunned silent. This was not the poor boy he despised. This was a man who built an empire under his nose. But pride is a dangerous thing. After a long pause, anger slowly returned to the chief's eyes. So what now? He asked coldly. You expect us to hand over our only daughter because you're rich? Toby looked him straight in the eyes. No, sir. I expect nothing from you. I am here because I respect your position as her parents. But with or without your blessing, I will marry her. The chief took a step closer. You think because you have money you can talk to me like that? No, sir. I speak to you like a man who loves your daughter. Mrs. Lawson gasped. Her husband clenched his fists. All this while, Chidinma had remained quiet. Now she stepped forward, voice steady, firm, and full of fire. Daddy. Mummy. I have listened to you insult him for years. I kept quiet when you stripped me of my inheritance. I stayed silent when you tried to control who I could love. Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. But today? Today I will not be silent. Her parents watched her in shock. I love him, she continued, and I choose him. Not because he is rich, not because he is powerful, but because when you abandoned me, he stayed. When you insulted him, he defended me. When you disowned me, he held me. Her voice broke. He loved me when you didn't. Her mother gasped. Chief Lawson swallowed hard, caught between anger and shame. Toby stepped closer to her parents, his voice calm, respectful. Chief, madam, I know you think I'm here to take your daughter away. He turned slightly toward Chidinma, eyes soft. But the truth is, your daughter helped me become everything I am today. Both parents frowned. What do you mean? Mrs. Lawson asked. Toby inhaled slowly. When she left Nigeria, I had nothing. But she kept encouraging me. She believed in my ideas. She pushed me to enter competitions, apply for grants, sell my first software design. Chidinma blinked, shocked. You never told me. Toby smiled softly. You didn't know. But your influence shaped everything. He turned back to her parents. I did not build this empire alone. Your daughter built it with me. With her words, her belief, her heart. Silence. Even Chief Lawson didn't have a response to that. After what felt like eternity, he spoke. I still do not like this, he said quietly. But I respect strength. And you, young man, you have strength. He looked at his daughter. And you have courage. Mrs. Lawson wiped tears from her eyes. But we need time. Toby nodded. You have it. Chidinma stepped closer, taking Toby's hand. We are not rushing anything, she said softly. But we are not hiding anymore. Her parents nodded reluctantly, defeated, for now. But this was only the beginning. As they drove away from the mansion, Chidinma rested her head on Toby's shoulder. That was intense, she whispered. He kissed her forehead gently. We made it through. Do you think they will eventually accept us? She asked. He smiled. They will have no choice. She smiled too because she knew he was right. With love, courage, and truth finally on their side, nothing could stop them now. 4 weeks after the confrontation, Lagos was buzzing with one story. Africa's youngest tech billionaire is engaged to the disowned Lawson heiress. Every blog carried the headline. Every social media page had opinions. Every gossip table in Victoria Island, Ikoyi, and Lekki was on fire. Some praised Chidinma for choosing love. Others mocked her parents for losing their heiress to a boy they once considered beneath them. Some accused Toby of using her for influence. But most people were confused. Why did he hide his wealth for so long? Did he test her loyalty? Will the Lawsons accept him now? Within days, the engagement became national news. The Lawsons faced humiliation. At a wedding in Banana Island, Mrs. Lawson overheard whispers behind her. Isn't that the mother of the girl that married the poor boy? She didn't know the boy was a billionaire. Pride can blind someone. Mrs. Lawson's hands shook so badly she almost dropped her wine glass. Chief Lawson faced worse. His friends, wealthy board members and political associates, teased him endlessly. Chief, imagine. You chased away a billionaire from your home. You should have checked the boy's background before embarrassing yourself. You see why we say don't judge people by class? Chief Lawson's pride suffered, but deep down he started respecting the boy he once despised. Every major media house wanted an exclusive interview with Toby and Chidinma. Channels TV, Arise News, BBC Africa, CNN Africa. But Toby refused all. My relationship is not for sale, he told journalists calmly, walking past flashing cameras. Chidinma stayed close to him, confident, proud, and unashamed. Reporters shouted as they walked through a mall. Toby, why did you hide your wealth? Chidinma, how does it feel to lose your inheritance? Are the Lawsons now supporting the wedding? Toby placed a protective arm around her and whispered, don't answer them. And she didn't, because being beside him gave her a kind of quiet courage she never knew she had. At a luncheon in Lekki Phase 1, her old friends gathered around her. The tone was fake sweet. Their smiles did not reach their eyes. So, you married for love, Kemi said in a clipped tone. Oh, brave of you. Another friend, Adora, laughed too loudly. But babe, imagine leaving all your inheritance because of one boy. Chidinma sipped her drink calmly. You mean the billionaire boy? The room went silent. Her friends exchanged quick, shocked looks. Before they regained their voices, she continued, I married a good man, a kind man, and the smartest man I know. My inheritance is safe in his hands. And in God's hands. None of them had anything left to say. They realized Chidinma was no longer the insecure rich daughter they used to influence. Love had made her stronger. One night, the Lawsons invited Toby and Chidinma for dinner. For the first time in months, Toby wore a suit, the kind that effortlessly screamed executive power. When the house staff opened the door, Mrs. Lawson looked visibly uneasy. Good evening, Ma, Toby greeted politely. She swallowed. Good evening, Toby. Please come in. At the dining table, Chief Lawson cleared his throat and spoke first. I want to apologize, he said stiffly. We misjudged you. Toby bowed slightly. I understand, sir. The chief continued. You hid your identity. But you hid it with dignity. For that I respect you. Mrs. Lawson added quietly. And thank you for not humiliating us publicly. Chidinma touched her mother's hand gently. Mummy, all I ever wanted was for us to be happy together. Her mother squeezed her hand, eyes softening. Then let's try again. For the first time in a long time, the Lawson home felt warm. Once the Lawsons accepted Toby, the wedding plans shifted from quiet to grand. Planners from Dubai, Paris, and Lagos reached out. Magazines begged to feature the event. Sponsors offered millions to showcase their brands at the ceremony. Toby rejected every offer. No cameras. No noise. No sponsorship. Our wedding is ours. Chidinma smiled, relieved. She never wanted a circus, just a day built on love. But the world refused to be calm. Bloggers leaked rumors. Toby Tech wedding to cost N$1.2 billion. Lawson heiress planning royal ceremony. Chidinma now the future Madam Tech Queen. Pressure mounted. Yet love held them steady. On the eve of the wine-carrying ceremony, Toby and Chidinma sat on her balcony, staring at the Lagos nightscape. The city lights sparkled like scattered stars. Toby, she whispered, resting her head on his chest. Are you ready for tomorrow? Yes, he said softly, kissing the top of her head. I've been ready for 7 years. She smiled, eyes closed. I'm nervous. Don't be. We survived the hard part. She looked up at him. Do you think your life would have been different if we never met? He chuckled. I think my life started when I met you. Her heart melted. He pulled her onto his lap, holding her close. Tomorrow, he whispered, am marrying the girl I've loved since I was 16. She touched his cheek gently. And am marrying the boy who turned into a man I never deserved but always needed. They kissed, slow, soft, deep, full of 7 years' worth of promises. The city kept shining. Love kept growing. And tomorrow, Africa would witness a wedding like none before. Because this marriage wasn't about wealth, or class, or status. It was about two hearts that refused to give up on each other. The morning of the traditional wedding arrived like a sunrise made only for them. Drums echoed through the compound. Women in shimmering lace fabric bustled about. Gold-red canopies lined the space. The air smelled of camwood, fresh palm wine, jollof, and joy. This was not just a wedding. It was a union of two destinies that refused to die. Chidinma stepped out into the crowd, escorted by her aunties. Her attire glowed, rich burgundy George wrapper, coral beads cascading down her neck, waist beads shimmering beneath the fabric, gelly tied like a queen's crown. When she entered, the entire crowd gasped. She looked like royalty. Not the heiress her parents wanted her to be, but the queen her love had made her. Her mother wiped a tear quietly. Look at my daughter, she whispered shakily. Look at how happy she is. Chief Lawson nodded slowly, pride softening his old stubborn heart. Toby sat among the young men, dressed in ivory agbada lined with red threads, coral bracelets on his wrists. His calm confidence made even elders nod with admiration. He wasn't the poor boy they once rejected. He was a king in his own right. And today he was waiting for his queen. When the MC called his name, Toby stood. The crowd clapped. "Are you ready to receive your wife?" The MC teased. Toby smiled. "I have been ready for many years." Laughter filled the air. Chidinma was given a calabash of palm wine. The tradition was simple. Find your husband. Give him the drink. Whoever she kneels before becomes her husband. The music rose. Drums quickened. Her heart pounded with excitement as she walked through the crowd, smiling shyly as people teased her. "Where is he? Look, Wello. Don't pick the wrong man." But she knew exactly where he was. She found him sitting with other men, pretending like he wasn't watching her every move. Their eyes met. Everything, the years apart, the tears, the insults, the fights, the endurance, came rushing back. She walked toward him slowly. When she reached him, she smiled softly and knelt down. "Toby," she whispered. He lowered his head with emotion. She offered the calabash. He drank. The crowd erupted into cheers. The MC shouted, "She has found her husband." Toby lifted her gently from the ground and hugged her tightly as the drums intensified. There, in front of everyone, he whispered, "I will never stop choosing you." She pressed her forehead against his. "And I will never stop loving you." Both families gathered in the center. Chief Lawson cleared his throat, holding the microphone. There was once a time he would rather swallow the mic than apologize publicly. But today was different. He turned to Toby. "Young man," he began, voice heavy, "I once judged you wrongly. I thought you wanted my daughter for wealth. I thought you had nothing to offer." He paused. "But today, I see you offer her everything money cannot buy." A murmur of agreement rippled through the guests. Mrs. Lawson stepped forward, eyes glistening. "Please, take care of her," she said softly. Toby bowed his head. "With my life." Then both parents placed their hands on the couple and blessed them. "May your home be filled with joy. May you never lack anything good. May your love grow stronger than any storm." It was the moment Chidinma had prayed for. Her parents finally accepted her choice, with pride. As the festivities continued, a hush swept across the compound. A convoy of black SUVs drove in. Bodyguards stepped out. The crowd shifted nervously. Then a tall, elderly man emerged, distinguished, wealthy, powerful. It was Mr. Orji, chairman of the African Tech Council, one of the continent's most respected leaders. Toby froze in surprise. The man walked up to him and embraced him warmly. "My son," Mr. Orji said. "I could not miss this day." The guests gasped. The man turned to the crowd. "For those who may not know, Toby is one of the greatest minds Africa has produced. His company will shape the future of this continent." He placed a hand on Toby's shoulder. "And today I came to honor not just a CEO, but a man who loved a woman with loyalty, integrity, and patience." Chidinma blinked back tears. Then Mr. Orji turned to her. "You chose well, my daughter, and you will reign beside him." The applause shook the entire compound. As evening approached, fireworks lit up the sky. Toby took Chidinma aside, away from the noise, under a palm tree decorated with fairy lights. He held her face gently. "You're my wife now," he whispered. She smiled, eyes shining. "And you're my forever." He leaned in and kissed her, slow, soft, full of promise. The drums softened in the distance. The world faded away. For the first time in their journey, there was no fear, no judgment, no tests, no secrets, only love. Pure, true, enduring. Their story had survived everything: class, pride, distance, rejection, and time. And now, it had found its perfect ending. A home built on love, a marriage blessed by two families, and a future bright enough to light the whole world. The garden behind their new Lagos mansion shimmered under the soft glow of fairy lights. It wasn't the mansion her parents built, nor the empire they once dangled over her head like a chain. This one was hers, theirs, born from love, sacrifice, and a stubborn refusal to let fear win. Chidinma stood on the balcony, her wedding ring warm against her chest as she held it, watching Toby in the yard teaching neighborhood kids how to code on donated laptops. His laughter, deep, boyish, honest, floated up to her like music from a life she once dreamt of but feared she would lose. She smiled. 7 years apart. Years of disapproval. Inheritances lost. Reputations ruined. Secrets revealed. Yet here they were. Not just married. Not just successful. But whole. Toby finally looked up at her, his eyes locking on hers with the same awe he had at 16 when she first raised her hand in class to answer a mathematics question. He excused himself from the kids and jogged toward the balcony, stopping beneath it. "Mrs. Alade," he teased, "you're staring at me like I stole something." You did, she replied softly. My heart. And you've refused to return it since SS2. He grinned. No refund policy. She laughed, her heart swelling. Inside the house, photos lined the walls, pictures of their journey. Their registry wedding after her parents disowned her. The tiny apartment they lived in during the early years of Toby's startup grind. The newspaper article announcing Toby as the youngest billionaire tech CEO in Nigeria. The reconciliatory dinner with her parents, awkward, tearful, healing. Their lavish white wedding, sponsored entirely by Toby's company, after her parents begged to be part of it. Their first home. Their new foundation for underprivileged teens. Chidinma had regained her inheritance eventually, not by begging but because her parents realized she didn't need it. And that humbled them. Toby climbed up the stairs and joined her on the balcony. Without a word, he wrapped his arms around her waist and rested his chin on her shoulder. You happy? He asked quietly. More than I ever dreamed. You regret nothing? Nothing, she whispered. Because choosing you, choosing us, was choosing my destiny. He kissed her forehead gently. You waited for me. I'll spend the rest of my life earning that. Below them, the laughter of children echoed. Above them, the Lagos night sky glowed. Two people who waited. Two hearts that believed. Two lives that refused to be defined by power, wealth, or fear. Their love, once forbidden, now flourished like a story the world almost didn't get to see. And together they stepped back into the warm light of the home they built, hand in hand, unbreakable, unstoppable, and forever.